Request. 1. Painful thoughts are automatic negative appraisals of self-worth. Example: I'm a failure because I lost my job, / I'm unlovable after that breakup, / I'm stupid for forgetting that meeting. These thoughts arise without conscious effort, often triggered by minor setbacks. They distort reality by overgeneralizing one event into a permanent trait. Unlike constructive criticism, they offer no pathway to improvement, only shame. Over time, they become habitual, coloring every new experience with old guilt. Recognizing their automatic nature is the first step to breaking their spell. 2. They frequently involve catastrophic forecasting of the future. Example: I'll definitely bomb this presentation and get fired, / my chest pain means I'm having a heart attack, / my child's bad grade means they'll never succeed. These thoughts project worst-case scenarios with high emotional conviction but low factual basis. They activate the fight-or-flight response, making you physically agitated and mentally cramped. Each prediction feels like a prophecy, yet rarely comes true as imagined. The mental energy spent on rehearsing disasters drains problem-solving capacity. Learning to treat them as guesses, not truths, reduces their grip. 3. Painful thoughts often center on perceived social rejection. Example: they're laughing at me, not with me, / my friend didn't text back because they hate me, / I was excluded from that group chat on purpose. Humans are wired for belonging, so these thoughts strike at our deepest survival instincts. They trigger shame and hypervigilance, making you scan faces for disapproval. Even neutral cues, like a paused conversation, get misinterpreted as hostility. This mental habit damages real relationships by provoking defensiveness or withdrawal. Countering them requires collecting objective evidence of acceptance. 4. They frequently take the form of rigid, should statements. Example: I should never feel angry, / my partner should always know what I need, / I should have been over this grief by now. These tyrannical rules set unattainable standards, guaranteeing perpetual failure. They ignore human variability, context, and emotional complexity. When you break these internal laws, self-punishment follows swiftly, guilt, then depression. Shoulds also fuel resentment toward others who don't meet your unspoken codes. Replacing them with flexible preferences, I would prefer, restores psychological breathing room. 5. Painful thoughts magnify past mistakes into lifelong identities. Example: I cheated once, so I'm a liar forever, / I yelled at my kid, I'm a monster parent, / I failed math, so I'm not a smart person. This is cognitive fusion, merging an action with your core being. It erases the possibility of change, growth, or redemption. The memory of the mistake gets replayed like a stuck film, each viewing deepening the scar. Meanwhile, contrary evidence, times you were honest, patient, or capable, gets dismissed as flukes. Separating "I did a bad thing" from "I am bad" is essential for self-compassion. 6. They often involve mind-reading others' negative judgments. Example: my boss thinks I'm incompetent, / my spouse secretly regrets marrying me, / strangers see my acne and feel disgust. You project your own harsh inner critic onto external faces, assuming they share your verdict. This is a cognitive distortion with zero verifiable data, yet it feels more real than fact. It leads to avoidance of social situations, reducing opportunities for corrective feedback. The painful irony is that others are usually too absorbed in their own thoughts to judge you harshly. Testing these assumptions with gentle inquiries can shatter them. 7. Painful thoughts can be sensory intrusive, images, not just words. Example: flashing image of a car crash you survived. / mental picture of your ex with someone new, / vivid replay of a humiliating public stumble. These visual intrusions carry even more emotional weight than verbal thoughts because they feel like reliving. They hijack your present moment, pulling you into a traumatic or shameful past. Unlike verbal rumination, images are harder to argue with logically. They often arrive unbidden during quiet moments, before sleep or during idle time. Grounding techniques, naming objects in the room, help interrupt the visual loop. 8. They intensify during physical exhaustion or hunger. Example, after poor sleep, every work email feels like a personal attack. / skipping lunch makes you spiral about your body image. / during illness, you catastrophize about never recovering. Painful thoughts are not purely psychological, they are biological events. Low glucose, high cortisol, and fatigue lower your cognitive defenses, making distortions more persuasive. This is why arguments escalate at dinner time or why anxious thoughts peak at 3 a.m. Treating your body, sleep, food, hydration, is a direct intervention on your thinking. Never trust a painful thought born from an empty stomach or tired brain. 9. They often come with a sense of urgency. I must solve this now. Example, I have to text them back immediately or they'll abandon me, / I need to figure out my entire career path tonight, / this anxiety must be eliminated this second. This urgency is a trap. Painful thoughts demand instant action, but most problems aren't time sensitive. The pressure creates poor decisions, like oversharing or quitting impulsively. It also prevents you from sitting with discomfort, which is a necessary skill for emotional maturity. Slowing down, even counting to 10, breaks the illusion of emergency. Most painful thoughts can wait, the ones that can't are rare. 10. They often twist neutral events into personal attacks. Example, a coworker's curt tone means they dislike you. / rain on your wedding day means the universe is against you. / a cancelled plan means your friend doesn't value you. This is called personalization, taking external events as direct reflections of your worth. It ignores the thousands of other factors, coworker's headache, weather patterns, friends' family emergency. This habit makes you feel perpetually victimized and hyper-responsible. It also exhausts your social circle, as you constantly seek reassurance. Practicing alternative explanations, list 3 other reasons, dissolves this distortion. 11. Painful thoughts can be inherited or culturally learned. Example, suffering is noble, from your religious upbringing. / boys don't cry, from your father. / money equals morality, from your community. These are not your original thoughts. They are internalized voices from family, media, or tradition. They carry extra authority because they feel ancient and unquestionable. Yet they may clash with your current values or life circumstances. Challenging them feels like betraying your tribe, which adds a layer of guilt. Distinguishing their voice from my voice is a painful but liberating excavation. 12. They often pair with physical pain, creating a vicious loop. Example, chronic back pain triggers, I'll be disabled forever, / migraine sparks, I can't handle life, / IBS flare-up leads to, my body is betraying me. Physical and emotional pain share neural pathways, each amplifies the other. The thought worsens muscle tension, which worsens pain, which worsens the thought. This loop can persist for years without a clear starting point. Breaking it requires simultaneous treatment, body, physio, medication, and mind, CBT, acceptance. Simply noticing the loop, pain is talking, can reduce its power. 13. Painful thoughts often emerge in boredom or stillness. Example, lying in bed on Sunday morning brings up existential dread. A quiet commute triggers regret over past choices. While folding laundry, you remember a lost loved one acutely. When external stimulation drops, the default mode network of the brain activates. This is where self-referential, often negative, rumination lives. Your mind prefers painful meaning over meaningless quiet. This is why meditation can be initially distressing. You finally hear the background noise. The solution isn't constant distraction but learning to observe these thoughts like clouds. They arise precisely because stillness is safe enough for them to surface. 14. They can be triggered by positive events, the fear of joy. Example, after a great date, you think, they'll ghost me soon, getting a promotion sparks, I'll fail and embarrass myself, a fun vacation makes you dread returning to normal life. This paradoxical response stems from believing that happiness is dangerous, it can be taken away, or you don't deserve it. Your brain tries to preemptively protect you from future loss by spoiling the present. This robs you of genuine satisfaction and keeps you in a hypervigilant state. Accepting that joy and loss can coexist is the antidote. Not every good moment needs a disaster forecast. 15. Painful thoughts often involve unfair comparisons to idealized others. Example, everyone my age is married with kids, / my colleague writes code twice as fast, / that influencer has flawless skin and a perfect home. Social media supercharges this distortion. You compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. The comparison is never apples to apples, yet it feels damning. It breeds envy, inadequacy, and a sense of being behind in an imaginary race. These thoughts ignore your unique trajectory, constraints, and values. Curating your feed and practicing downward comparison, look at those worse off, can balance, but true peace comes from ceasing the race entirely. 16. They can be passive, background noise you barely notice. Example, a low hum of, I'm not good enough, while cooking dinner. A whisper of, nobody cares, during a solo walk. A faint, what's the point, while brushing teeth. These are the most dangerous because they operate beneath awareness, shaping mood without conscious debate. They don't scream, they seep. Over months, they erode motivation, self-esteem, and even physical health. You may not even realize they're there until a therapist points them out. Journaling or voice memos can bring these whispers into the light for examination. 17. Painful thoughts often cluster in the early morning and late night. Example, waking at 4 a.m. with a racing heart about work deadlines. Lying awake replaying an awkward conversation from 2015. Dreading the day ahead before your feet touch the floor. Cortisol naturally spikes in early morning, to wake you, but in anxious individuals, it spikes too high. At night, fatigue lowers inhibition, and lack of distraction allows rumination. These are predictable windows, not signs of impending doom. Preparing bedtime routines and morning pages, writing thoughts down, can diffuse them. Simply knowing, this is my 4 a.m. brain, gives you distance. 18. They often resist logical because they feel true in the body. Example, even if you know you're loved, you feel lonely. Even with evidence of competence, you feel like a fraud. Even after reassurance, your stomach knots. Painful thoughts are not rational propositions, they are embodied beliefs stored in muscle tension, breath patterns, and gut reactions. Logic alone fails because the body doesn't speak English. You must address the somatic side, deep breathing, progressive relaxation, or movement, to shift the felt sense. Until the body relaxes, the mind will keep generating matching thoughts. This is why talk therapy alone often plateaus. 19. They can be recycled from childhood but applied to adult situations. Example: a critical parent's voice becomes your inner critic at work. Childhood bullying resurfaces as fear of group settings. Being ignored as a kid makes you panic when a partner is quiet. Your brain encoded these early patterns as survival blueprints. Now, adult challenges activate those old neural highways because they're well paved. The intensity of your reaction often fits the past, not the present. Identifying the trigger's age, "This feels like I'm 8 again," helps you respond as an adult, not a child. Reparenting, giving yourself what you needed then, is a powerful rewrite. 20. Painful thoughts are not your fault, but managing them is your responsibility. Example: you didn't choose to have anxiety or trauma. You didn't ask for intrusive images. You aren't weak for having dark thoughts. Shame about having painful thoughts only adds a second layer of suffering. They are a natural outcome of a sensitive nervous system and a complex life. However, leaving them unchecked harms you and those around you. Responsibility means choosing strategies, therapy, medication, exercise, mindfulness, not blaming yourself for having the thoughts in the first place. Compassion for yourself is the foundation of all durable change. If this 20-point version helps, I can deliver the remaining 80 points in 4 follow-up replies, each with 20 points, same format. Just say, "Continue," and I'll proceed. Here is part 2, points 21 to 40. Same format, each with 3 examples and 5+ sentences. Reply, continue, 4 parts 3 to 5, 41 to 100. 21. Painful thoughts often attached to specific sensory triggers, smells, sounds, or textures. Example: the scent of cinnamon brings back your ex's kitchen and a wave of loss. A car horn's pitch mimics the one from your accident, making you flinch. The feel of wool reminds you of a grandparent's funeral outfit, triggering grief. These triggers bypass rational thought and go straight to the limbic system, making the thought feel instantaneous and undeniable. You cannot talk yourself out of a smell-based memory. It's a direct neural shortcut. The pain is real, but the context is past, yet your body reacts as if it's present. Over time, avoidance of these triggers shrinks your world significantly. Gradual exposure, paired with grounding, e.g., "I am in 2026, not 2010, can rewire that link. 22. They frequently worsen during hormonal shifts, menstrual cycles, pregnancy, or menopause. Example: days before your period, every self-criticism feels unbearably true. Postpartum, intrusive thoughts of harming your baby terrify you. During perimenopause, hot flashes bring waves of existential despair. Hormones modulate neurotransmitter availability, especially serotonin and dopamine, which directly affect mood and cognition. These thoughts are not character flaws, they are biochemical weather patterns. Judging yourself for having them adds shame on top of chemistry. Tracking your cycle alongside thought intensity reveals clear correlations, offering self-compassion. Simple interventions, like extra sleep, magnesium, or HRT, can dramatically reduce their volume. 23. Painful thoughts can be meta, thoughts about having painful thoughts. Example: why can't I stop thinking this way? I'm broken, / my anxiety is going to ruin my whole day, / I shouldn't be this upset over something so small. This secondary layer creates a feedback loop, the original pain plus the judgment of that pain. It doubles the suffering without changing the original trigger. You end up fighting a war on 2 fronts, against the thought and against yourself. Breaking this requires accepting the first thought as neutral data, a worry arose, and refusing to engage the second. Metacognitive therapy teaches that you can watch thoughts without wrestling them. 24. They often manifest as what-if chains that spiral endlessly. Example: what if I miss my flight? Then I'll lose the client, then I'll get fired, then I'll be homeless, / what if my cough is cancer? Then treatment fails, then my kids grow up without me, / what if they don't like my gift? Then they'll think I'm cheap, then they'll distance themselves. Each what if builds on the previous one, creating a catastrophic narrative with no off-ramp. These chains feel productive because they simulate problem solving, but they never reach a solution, only disaster. They also ignore the statistical unlikelihood of the final outcome. Interrupting the chain with a single, what if it works out, is often enough to break momentum. Writing the chain down visually reveals its absurd length and fragility. 25. Painful thoughts are stickier when you're dehydrated or have low blood sugar. Example: after skipping breakfast, you ruminate obsessively about a minor typo in an email. / a dry mouth from poor water intake makes your afternoon existential dread spike. / post-workout without electrolytes, you feel intensely hopeless about your fitness progress. The brain consumes 20% of your body's energy. When fuel or water is low, executive function, which regulates emotions, falters first. Your inner critic gains the upper hand simply because your prefrontal cortex is offline. This is why hangry arguments are so vicious. They're biologically driven. A glass of water and a handful of nuts can reduce thought severity within 15 minutes. Never have a painful conversation or make a big decision when thirsty or hungry. 26. They often intensify in the context of unfinished tasks, the Zeigarnik effect. Example: an undone tax return keeps intruding on your weekend relaxation. / a half-written apology text loops in your head during movies. / an unorganized closet makes you feel like a chaotic person overall. Unfinished business occupies working memory, creating mental tension that seeks closure. This tension often mutates into self-blame, I'm so lazy, rather than a neutral reminder. The thought becomes painful because it attaches to your identity, not just the task. Simply writing down a concrete next step, Friday 10 a.m., open tax software, can release the loop. Closure doesn't require completion, just a credible plan. 27. Painful thoughts can be culturally reinforced by toxic positivity environments. Example: your boss says, just think positive after you share burnout, making you feel defective. / friends tell you to look on the bright side of your divorce, invalidating your grief. / social media quotes like happiness is a choice make your depression feel like a moral failure. These external messages teach you that painful thoughts are unacceptable, so you suppress them. Suppression, however, increases their frequency and intensity, the classic white bear effect. You end up feeling broken for having normal human responses to difficulty. Finding spaces that allow venting without fixing, like support groups or therapy, is essential. Painful thoughts lose power when they're spoken aloud and met with empathy, not dismissal. 28. They often carry a tone of absolute certainty. I know, rather than I feel. Example: I know they're lying to me, / I know I'll never find love, / I know this project will fail. This linguistic framing closes off curiosity and evidence gathering. It transforms a subjective emotional state into an objective fact, making it unassailable. Certainty feels protective, it reduces ambiguity, but it also locks you in a prison of your own making. Adding a softening phrase, I notice I'm telling myself that, creates psychological distance. Certainty is a feeling, not a fact. Treating it as such opens the door to new data. 29. Painful thoughts often emerge during transitions, moving, graduating, or retiring. Example, after college, you think, my best years are behind me, / during a move, you ruminate, I have no real home, / in retirement, you obsess, I'm useless without my job. Transitions strip away familiar roles, routines, and social mirrors, leaving a void where painful self-evaluation rushes in. Your identity feels unmoored, so your brain tries to reconstruct it through negative lenses. These thoughts are temporary artifacts of liminality, not permanent truths. Rituals, like a farewell letter to your old role or a welcome letter to the new one, can anchor you. Time itself, combined with small daily structures, gradually silences this transition noise. 30. They can be triggered by other people's successes, social comparison threat. Example, a friend's engagement makes you think, I'm unworthy of partnership, / a coworker's award sparks, I'll never be recognized, / a sibling's home purchase triggers, I'm financially behind forever. This is not envy in the petty sense, it's a threat to your sense of belonging and survival in the tribal brain. You interpret another's gain as your loss, even when resources aren't zero-sum. These thoughts ignore your different starting line, values, and timeline. They also distract you from your own incremental progress. Shifting to abundance mindset is cliché but effective. Their success proves possibility, not scarcity. 31. Painful thoughts often have a looping quality, same content, same phrasing, repeated. Example, every night, you replay, I should have said X, from a fight years ago. / every shower, you think, my body is disgusting, / every work meeting, you hear, you don't belong here. This repetition creates neural grooves, literally, myelin sheaths that make the thought fire faster and more easily over time. It becomes a default track, like a stuck record, requiring no external trigger. The familiarity can even become comforting, in a morbid way, because it's predictable. Disrupting the loop requires a novel intervention, say, singing the thought in a silly voice or saying it backward. Novelty breaks neural habit. 32. They are often worse when you're overheated or in poor air quality. Example, a stuffy room makes your anxious thoughts feel suffocating. / summer heat waves amplify your irritability and self-hatred. / high CO2 levels in a crowded space trigger panic thoughts about losing control. Brain function is exquisitely sensitive to temperature and oxygen. Heat increases cortisol. Poor ventilation reduces cognitive flexibility. These environmental factors are invisible but powerful. You might blame yourself when it's actually the thermostat. Opening a window, splashing cold water on your wrists, or stepping outside can cut thought intensity in half. Your mind is not separate from your physical surround. Change the surround, change the thought. 33. Painful thoughts can be inherited through family storytelling. Example, your grandmother's poverty stories make you think money disappears overnight, / your father's tales of betrayal make you distrust every partner. / your mother's weight struggles make you fear every bite. These are not your lived experiences, but they become part of your internal script through repeated narration. They carry ancestral weight. You feel disloyal for questioning them. Yet they may be utterly irrelevant to your current reality. Distinguishing grandma's fear from my fear allows you to honor her while choosing your own beliefs. You can keep the lesson, prudence, without the terror, catastrophe. 34. They often spike during illness or recovery from surgery. Example, post-op, you think, I'll never be strong again, / with a cold, you ruminate, my immune system is failing, / after an injury, You obsess, I'm permanently disabled now. Illness lowers energy, increases inflammation, and often involves pain medications that affect cognition. Your brain interprets this vulnerability as global weakness, not temporary state. The thoughts feel prophetic because your body confirms frailty in the moment. But healing is non-linear. Bad days don't predict bad months. Tracking actual recovery metrics, not just feelings, provides objective counter-evidence. 35. Painful thoughts often hide in harmless questions you ask yourself. Example: why am I so tired? Leads to, because you're lazy, / why didn't they call? Leads to, because you're forgettable, / why did I eat that? Leads to, because you have no self-control. The question itself seems neutral, but the implied answer is almost always self-critical. This is a covert form of negative self-talk disguised as curiosity. You never ask why with genuine openness. You ask to confirm a guilty verdict. Reframing the question to what do I need right now, changes the direction of thought. Beware of why questions. They are traps. 36. They can be exacerbated by caffeine or alcohol. Example: 3 coffees make your racing thoughts about deadlines turn into panic. / a glass of wine at night turns mild regret into crushing shame. / energy drinks amplify your inner critic's volume to a roar. Caffeine spikes adrenaline, which fuels anxious content. Alcohol depresses the prefrontal cortex, releasing suppressed negative material without restraint. Both are socially acceptable but potent amplifiers of painful thinking. Your baseline tolerance varies daily, so yesterday's safe dose might be today's trigger. Experimenting with reduced intake for a week often reveals how much of your thought pain is chemically driven. Hydration and herbal tea are safer companions for heavy emotional processing. 37. Painful thoughts often have a moral flavor. You're bad, not just wrong. Example: you forget a birthday and think, I'm a terrible person / you lose your temper and think, I'm evil inside / you miss a deadline and think, I have no integrity. Moralizing a mistake turns a fixable error into an indelible stain. It invites punishment rather than repair, shame rather than learning. This flavor is especially common in people with rigid religious or perfectionistic upbringings. The antidote is to separate behavior from character. I did a thoughtless thing, versus, I am thoughtless. Behavioral correction is possible, moral excommunication is not. 38. They often target your most valued life domains, where you care most. Example: if you value parenting, you obsess over every mistake with your child. / if you value career, you ruminate on every critique. / if you value fitness, you spiral over one skipped workout. The pain points directly to your heart's true investments. That's the cruel paradox. You wouldn't be hurt if you didn't care deeply. This means the thought, while painful, is also a compass showing what matters. The goal isn't to stop caring but to care without self-flagellation. Reframing: this hurts because I love my child / career / health. Now how do I act on that love? 39. Painful thoughts can be contagious, absorbed from anxious partners or groups. Example: your partner's financial worry makes you panic about your own savings. / a coworker's doom-scrolling makes you fear for your job. / a friend's health anxiety makes you scan your own body for lumps. Emotional contagion works through mirror neurons and shared language. You don't generate these thoughts, you catch them like a cold. This doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human and socially wired. Limiting exposure, e.g., not discussing money before bed, and consciously separating their anxiety from my reality are protective. You can empathize without absorbing. 40. Finally, painful thoughts are not permanent. They have a natural half-life. Example: the agonizing shame after a public mistake fades within hours for most people. The gut-wrenching grief of a loss softens over months, not years. The acute panic before a test dissolves minutes after it starts. Untended, most painful thoughts peak and decline on their own, like a wave. Our intervention often prolongs them by fighting, suppressing, or overanalyzing. Observing them with a stopwatch reveals they rarely last more than 90 seconds physiologically, unless we feed them. Letting them be, like weather, allows them to pass. You are the sky, not the storm. Reply, continue, 4.41 to 60. Here is part 3, points 41 to 60. Reply, continue, 4 parts 4 to 5, 61 to 100. 41. Painful thoughts often arise from emotional reasoning, feeling it, therefore believing it. Example: you feel anxious about flying, so you think the plane must be unsafe. You feel guilty after saying no, so you think I must have done something wrong. You feel lonely, so you think nobody actually likes me. Emotional reasoning confuses internal states with external evidence. Your gut feeling is not a reliable news source, it's a reaction, not a report. This distortion is especially seductive because emotions feel visceral and immediate. You end up building elaborate justifications for a feeling that may come from hunger, fatigue, or memory. Checking facts: what actual data supports this? Is the only cure. 42. They can be triggered by anniversaries of traumatic events, even unconsciously. Example: every October, you feel inexplicably hopeless. Your father died that month years ago. Your car accident anniversary brings sudden intrusive flashbacks without warning. The date of your divorce filing makes you ruminate on failure, though you don't remember the date consciously. The body keeps time better than the mind. Circadian and seasonal rhythms encode emotional memories at a cellular level. You may not recall the date, but your cortisol spikes, sleep fragments, and painful thoughts surge. Naming the pattern, "oh, it's that week again," removes its mysterious power. Preemptively planning extra self-care on known anniversaries reduces their impact. 43. Painful thoughts often involve fortune-telling about others' irreversible disappointment. Example: if I tell my mom the truth, she'll never speak to me again. If I quit this job, my mentor will be devastated forever. If I set this boundary, my friend will cut me off permanently. You predict not just a reaction but a permanent relational rupture. This forecasting ignores people's resilience and capacity for repair. It also places an impossible burden on you, managing others' hypothetical emotions. Most people disappoint us less catastrophically than we imagine. Testing small truths, not the biggest one, reveals that relationships bend without breaking. 44. They are often sharper in the presence of should have, regret about the past. Example: I should have studied medicine instead of arts. I should have married my first love. I should have moved abroad when I had the chance. Regret thoughts are painful because they're unfixable. Time machines don't exist. They romanticize unchosen paths, ignoring their own downsides and struggles. Each should have erases the wisdom and growth you actually gained. These thoughts also paralyze present action because you're looking backward. Reframing to given what I knew then, I made the best choice offers self-forgiveness. 45. Painful thoughts can be performative. You think them to preempt external criticism. Example: you call yourself stupid before the boss can. You say, I'm so ugly, before a date can reject you. Slash you declare, I'll probably fail, before the exam results arrive. This is a defense mechanism. You beat others to the punch to feel some control. The irony is that internal rehearsal of criticism makes it more real, not less. You end up believing your own preemptive strikes. True protection comes from self-acceptance, not self-insult. You cannot be shamed for something you've already owned, but you also don't need to own false accusations. 46. They often intensify during the waiting period before uncertain outcomes. Example, between a job interview and the offer call, you spiral into, I bombed it, / after a medical test, you obsess over worst-case diagnoses. / before a partner responds to a serious text, you assume they're ending things. Uncertainty is more stressful than known bad news. Your brain hates ambiguity. It fills the void with negative predictions because threat detection is safer than optimism evolutionarily. This waiting period pain is purely anticipatory. The actual outcome is often less extreme. Structuring the wait, scheduling distractions, exercise, or social time, starves the thoughts. You can also set a worry window, e.g., 5 p.m., and postpone rumination until then. 47. Painful thoughts often attach to your inner child, younger versions of you. Example, when criticized, you feel 7 years old and think, I'm bad to the core, / when ignored, you feel like a teenager thinking, I'm invisible, / when overwhelmed, you feel like a toddler thinking, I can't cope. These thoughts carry the exact language and emotional intensity of earlier developmental stages. They surface because current triggers resemble past wounds, even vaguely. Adult logic fails because you're regressed neurologically. Responding as an adult, I see you, little one, but I've got this, reparents that inner part. Visualizing your current self comforting your younger self can dissolve the thought's grip. 48. They can be dietary, triggered by artificial sweeteners or MSG in sensitive people. Example, after diet soda, you feel inexplicably anxious and self-critical. / MSG-laden takeout makes you ruminate on past embarrassments. / food dyes and candy spike intrusive thoughts about death in susceptible individuals. Excitotoxins and artificial additives can cross the blood-brain barrier and overstimulate neurons. This is not psychological, it's neurochemical. The thoughts feel real because the chemistry is real, but the content is random. Keeping a food mood diary can reveal surprising correlations. Eliminating suspect additives for 2 weeks often produces dramatic mental clarity. 49. Painful thoughts often cluster around identity milestones, turning 30, 40, 50, etc. Example, at 30, you think, I should be married with a house by now, / at 40, you obsess, half my life is over. What have I achieved? / at 50, you spiral, my body is decaying and I'm irrelevant. Round number birthdays trigger social comparison against cultural scripts. They feel like deadlines, but they're arbitrary constructs. The pain comes from measuring your unique timeline against a mythical average. These thoughts often fade within weeks of the birthday passing. Pre-writing a decade letter, celebrating your actual journey, can reframe the milestone as gratitude, not grief. 50. They can be secondhand, adopted from a partner's anxiety disorder. Example, your partner fears germs, so you start obsessing over contamination too. / your spouse catastrophizes about finances, so you adopt their panic. / your best friend has health anxiety, and now you check your moles daily. Close emotional bonds blur the boundary between self and other. You absorb their cognitive habits through empathy, conversation, and shared routines. These are not your original thoughts, but they become yours through repetition. Creating physical or temporal distance, separate walks, different news sources, helps uncouple. Loving someone doesn't require sharing their mental illness. 51. Painful thoughts often have a rhythmic quality, worse at certain times of day. Example, mornings bring dread and self-loathing, afternoons are clearer. Evenings bring guilt and regret, late nights bring existential fear. Post-lunch slump triggers hopelessness about your career. Circadian rhythms affect cortisol, serotonin, and melatonin in predictable waves. Your painful thoughts are not random, they follow your biological clock. Tracking your worst hours for a week reveals your personal danger zones. Scheduling high-stakes conversations or decisions outside those windows is wise. You can also use light therapy or exercise to shift your rhythm. 52. They often involve all or nothing thinking about relationships. Example, if they don't text back in an hour, they don't care at all, / if we have one fight, our marriage is toxic, / if I'm not their best friend, I'm nothing to them. This dichotomous thinking erases the vast middle ground of human connection. Relationships are gradients, attention waxes and wanes without meaning extinction. The pain comes from demanding perfection from imperfect beings, including yourself. Collecting counterexamples, times they showed care, builds a more balanced picture. Both / and thinking, they love me and they're busy, is the repair. 53. Painful thoughts can be environmental, worsened by clutter or disorganization. Example, a messy desk makes you think, I can't manage my life / an overflowing inbox triggers, I'm drowning and incompetent / a chaotic bedroom fuels, I'm a fundamentally disordered person. External chaos mirrors and magnifies internal chaos. Your brain uses visual order as a proxy for cognitive control. When your environment is scattered, your thoughts become similarly fragmented and self-critical. A 5-minute tidy, even just making your bed, can reset your cognitive baseline. Order is not superficial, it's scaffolding for sanity. 54. They often emerge after saying yes when you meant no, people-pleasing hangover. Example, you agree to host a party, then think, I'm a doormat with no boundaries, / you accept extra work, then ruminate, I have no self-respect / you loan money you can't afford, then spiral, I'm financially reckless and weak. The painful thought is a delayed protest, your authentic self rebelling against your performance. It surfaces not during the request but after, when the cost becomes real. This is valuable feedback, your yes was misaligned. The solution isn't self-flagellation but practicing tiny no's in lower-stakes situations. Each small boundary builds the muscle for bigger ones. 55. They can be seasonal, worse in winter, sad, or summer, heat plus light. Example, dark January mornings make you think, life is meaningless, / humid August afternoons trigger, I can't handle anything, / spring social pressure makes you think, everyone is happier than me. Seasonal affective disorder affects serotonin and melatonin production, directly altering thought content. The painful narratives are biologically driven by light exposure and temperature. You are not failing at life, you are reacting to the planet's tilt. Light therapy, vitamin D, and seasonal routines, winter, cozy rituals, summer, cooling breaks, are medical interventions. Recognize seasonal thoughts as seasonal, they will lift with the equinox. 56. Painful thoughts often involve mind reading, your past self, judging who you were. Example, I was so cringy in high school. I hate that person, / I can't believe I stayed with that ex. I was pathetic, / my 20-year-old self was embarrassingly naive. You apply today's wisdom to yesterday's context, which is a logical error. Your past self had limited data, different brain development, and fewer coping skills. Judging them harshly is like blaming a baby for not walking. That younger version got you here. They deserve gratitude, not scorn. Writing a compassionate letter to your past self can transform shame into tenderness. 57. They often spike during empty nest or caregiving transitions. Example: kids leave home, and you think, I have no purpose now, / a parent enters a nursing home, and you think, I failed as a child / a pet dies, and you think, I'll never love anything again. These transitions strip away active caregiving roles, leaving a void that negative self-evaluation fills. Your identity was wrapped in doing. Without it, you question your being. These thoughts are grief disguised as self-criticism. Allowing the grief, crying, memorializing, resting, removes the disguise. Purpose rebuilds slowly, not through force but through curiosity about new forms of care. 58. Painful thoughts can be parasitic. They use your strengths against you. Example: your empathy makes you think, I feel everyone's pain. It's my fault / your conscientiousness makes you think, I'm never working hard enough / your intelligence makes you think, I should have figured out life by now. Your greatest virtues become ammunition for your inner critic. The very traits that help you succeed are twisted into evidence of inadequacy. This is because the critic knows your weak spots intimately. It's a corrupted form of self-awareness. The antidote is to name the strength separately from the distortion. My empathy is a gift, the guilt is a bug. Celebrate the trait while rejecting its abusive interpretation. 59. They often worsen in the liminal space between sleep and wakefulness. Example: hypnagogic jerks, falling sensations. Trigger: I'm losing control of my body / waking from a nap. You feel disoriented and think, nothing is real / in the drowsy pre-sleep state, old humiliations replay without context. These transitional states lower cortical inhibition, allowing raw subconscious material to surface. Your usual reality testing is offline, so bizarre or ancient thoughts feel current. They are not prophetic, they are neurological noise. Simply labeling them transition thoughts and rolling over can dismiss them. Never make decisions or interpret meaning from these twilight thoughts. 60. Finally, painful thoughts are not a moral failure, they are a universal human experience. Example: every culture has words for inner suffering. Taijin Kaiafusho, in Japan, Torschlusspanik, in German. / every historical figure from Marcus Aurelius to Maya Angelou wrote about dark ruminations. / every therapist, including those who treat others, has their own intrusive thoughts. You are not broken for having them, you are human. The measure of character is not the absence of painful thoughts but your relationship to them. Shaming yourself for thinking them is the real wound. Accepting their universality reduces isolation and shame. You are in excellent, vast company. Now the task is to respond with skill, not self-condemnation. Reply, continue, 4.61 to 80. Here is part 4.61 to 80. Reply, continue, once more for the final installment, 81 to 100. 61. Painful thoughts often attach to firsts: first holiday, first birthday, first anniversary after a loss. Example: the first Thanksgiving without your parent makes you think, I'll never feel joy again. / your first birthday post-divorce triggers, I'm utterly alone in the world. / the first anniversary of your miscarriage brings, my body is broken and empty. Firsts magnify absence because your brain expects the old pattern: presence, celebration, or hope. When reality clashes with expectation, the gap hurts more than the event itself. These thoughts are acute but temporary. Each subsequent first loses intensity. Ritualizing the first, lighting a candle, writing a letter, gives the pain a container. You are not reliving the loss, you are remembering it, which is different. 62. They can be triggered by microexpressions, fleeting facial cues you misinterpret. Example: a therapist's brief glance at the clock makes you think, they're bored of me, / a partner's quick frown during your story makes you think, they hate my personality, / a friend's raised eyebrow makes you think, they think I'm lying. Microexpressions are involuntary, often unrelated to you. They might be about digestion, a memory, or an external sound. But your hypervigilant brain seizes them as evidence. You build entire painful narratives on a half-second muscular twitch. Checking in directly, I noticed a quick look, was it something I said, usually reveals a mundane cause. Most people are not hiding secret judgments, they're just human. 63. Painful thoughts often escalate when you're overhelped or infantilized. Example: your partner takes over a task you can do, and you think, I'm useless, / your parents pay your bills, and you think, I'm a child, not an adult, / your boss reassigns your project, and you think, I'm incompetent and pitted. Well-meaning assistance can trigger shame about your autonomy. The thought isn't about the help itself but what you imagine it says about your capability. This is especially painful for people recovering from illness or trauma. Communicating your preferences, I need to do this myself, even if slower, restores agency. Gratitude and independence can coexist, the thought distorts them into opposition. 64. They often involve backward-looking perfectionism, obsessing over tiny errors. Example: a single typo in a report makes you think, I'm sloppy and unprofessional, / one awkward phrase in a speech makes you think, everyone noticed and judged me, / a slightly burnt dinner makes you think, I can't even feed my family properly. This is not about the error's size, it's about the gap between your internal standard and reality. The thought magnifies the flaw until it obscures everything else you did well. Others rarely notice or remember these micro-mistakes. The real pain is your refusal to accept fallibility. Deliberately making small, safe mistakes, e.g., sending a typewritten text to a friend, can desensitize you to this perfectionist tyranny. 65. Painful thoughts can be postural, worsened by slouching or shallow breathing. Example: hunched over a phone, you think, I feel small and powerless, / chest-tight shallow breaths trigger, I'm suffocating emotionally, / a forward head posture brings thoughts of defeat and hopelessness. Your body posture sends signals back to your brain via the vagus nerve. Slouching lowers testosterone and raises cortisol. Shallow breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system, fueling anxious content. This is a two-way street: thoughts affect posture, and posture affects thoughts. Straightening your spine, lifting your chin, and taking 3 slow diaphragmatic breaths can shift thought content within seconds. Body and mind are one system, use the body to lead. 66. They often emerge when you're between life chapters, after a breakup, before a new job. Example: the week after a breakup, you think, I'll never connect with anyone again, / the month before starting a new role, you think, I'm going to fail spectacularly, / the summer after graduation, you think, my real life hasn't started, I'm behind. These liminal periods lack structure, feedback, and familiar landmarks. Your brain hates the void. It fills it with worst-case forecasts because planning for danger feels productive. The thoughts are not predictions, they're placeholders for uncertainty. Creating small daily rituals, a morning walk, a reading hour, provides microstructure. The chapter will define itself, you don't need to pre-write it with fear. 67. Painful thoughts often target your vulnerable hour, when your meds wear off or blood pressure drops. Example: ADHD meds wearing off at 4 p.m. brings a wave of self-loathing. / blood pressure medication trough at dawn triggers existential dread. Antidepressant withdrawal window, missed dose, causes intrusive suicidal ideation. These are pharmacological artifacts, not genuine insights. Your brain chemistry is temporarily imbalanced, and your thoughts reflect that imbalance. The content may be vivid and convincing, but it's chemically driven. Setting alarms for precise dosing and tracking your trough hours can prevent surprise spirals. Never interpret or act on thoughts that emerge during known medication windows. They are side effects, not truths. 68. They can be sympathetic, taking on others' pain as your own fault. Example: your child is bullied, and you think, I should have protected them better. Your friend is depressed, and you think, I'm not doing enough to help. Your parent is ill, and you think, I caused this by stressing them. This is exaggerated responsibility. You confuse influence with control, and care with culpability. The thought feels noble, but it's actually self-centered. It centers your imagined power over their reality. Others' suffering has countless causes, most unrelated to you. Supporting without absorbing is the healthier stance. I can be present without being responsible. Repeating, I am not the author of their story, helps release this burden. 69. Painful thoughts often intensify after high-functioning periods. A crash follows effort. Example: you ace a big project, then spend the weekend thinking, I'm a fraud, next time I'll be exposed. You socialize brilliantly at a party, then lie awake thinking, I was too loud and annoying. You finish a marathon, then spiral into, that was nothing. Real athletes do ultras. High achievement drains your nervous system, leaving it vulnerable to rebound self-criticism. The effort itself depletes the very resources needed to fend off negative thoughts. This crash is physiological, not a sign that your success was hollow. Rest, nutrition, and deliberately doing nothing are the actual cures. The thought, I should do more, is the enemy of recovery. Ignore it. 70. They often involve comparison by proxy, judging yourself through your partner's or child's achievements. Example: your partner gets a promotion, and you think, I'm the dead weight in this relationship. Your child wins an award, and you think, they got my good genes, but I'm washed up. Your sibling excels, and you think, our parents must be so disappointed in me. You outsource your self-worth to someone else's milestones. Their success becomes a mirror showing your perceived failure. This is a cognitive distortion called external referencing. Your worth is not derivative, it's intrinsic and separate. Celebrating others genuinely, without turning it into a comparison, is a skill that takes practice. Their light does not diminish yours. There's no fixed supply of glory. 71. Painful thoughts can be auditory. You literally hear a critical voice, not just think it. Example: you hear your mother's exact tone saying, you'll never amount to anything. You hear your ex's laugh mocking your weight. You hear a coach's yell about your laziness during exercise. These are not hallucinations in the clinical sense. They're vivid memory traces with acoustic quality. They carry emotional weight because they're rooted in real past events. The voice feels external because it originally came from outside. Labeling it, that's mom's voice, not mine, creates distance. You can even mentally reply, thank you for your input, but I'm the adult in charge now. 72. They often worsen when you're between meals. Hypoglycemic irritability. Example: 3 p.m. blood sugar dip makes you think, I hate my job and my life. Mid-morning hunger turns a minor email into a, I'm getting fired, spiral. Late afternoon emptiness makes you ruminate on every past regret. Glucose is the brain's primary fuel. Without it, emotional regulation collapses. The thoughts that arise in hypoglycemia are not reasoned, they're desperate. They also vanish within 15 minutes of eating a balanced snack, protein plus complex carb. Never have a difficult conversation or make a life decision when hungry. Keep nuts, cheese, or fruit accessible as cognitive first aid. 73. Painful thoughts often involve catastrophic misinterpretation of bodily sensations. Example: a racing heart means, I'm having a heart attack, not anxiety. A dizzy spell means, I have a brain tumor, not dehydration. A tingling hand means, I'm having a stroke, not a pinched nerve. This is health anxiety's core mechanism. You mislabel normal or benign signals as dire threats. The thought then amplifies the sensation via adrenaline, creating a self-fulfilling spiral. The pain is real, but the cause is cognitive, not organic. Checking with a doctor once, then trusting that clearance, is essential. Repeatedly seeking reassurance feeds the loop. Instead, sit with the sensation and observe it without the story. 74. They can be intergenerational, carrying your ancestors' unprocessed grief. Example: you feel inexplicable guilt about money. Your grandparents lost everything in a war. You panic about abandonment. Your great-grandmother was orphaned. You fear success. Your immigrant ancestors were punished for standing out. Epigenetics and family narratives transmit emotional patterns across generations. These thoughts feel personal, but they may belong to a lineage. They often don't fit your current circumstances, yet they persist. Genogram work, mapping family trauma, can reveal these inherited scripts. You can honor your ancestors by acknowledging their pain, then consciously choosing a different narrative for yourself. 75. Painful thoughts often spike during social exhaustion, after too much interaction. Example: after a networking event, you think, everyone saw through my fakeness. After a family gathering, you ruminate, I said too much and offended someone. After back-to-back meetings, you spiral into, I'm drained because I'm fundamentally antisocial. Introverts and highly sensitive people experience social overload as a neurological state, not a character flaw. The painful thoughts are your brain's way of processing overstimulation. They're not objective evaluations. Rest, silence, and solitude are not escapes, they're recovery. The thoughts will quiet after adequate downtime. You don't need to fix or analyze them, just let them pass with rest. 76. They often involve irreversibility, fixating on choices that can't be undone. Example: you sold a house and now think, I ruined our family's future. You ended a friendship and think, I'm a cruel, unforgivable person. You dropped out of school and think, I closed every door forever. These thoughts magnify finality, but few choices are truly irreversible. Even when circumstances can't change, your relationship to them can. The pain is not about the choice itself but about your belief that you should have known better. You made the best decision with the information you had, that's all anyone can do. Forgiving your past decision-making is an active, daily practice, not a one-time event. 77. Painful thoughts can be vicarious, triggered by others' trauma you witnessed. Example: you saw a car accident, and now you think, the world is unsafe everywhere. A friend revealed abuse, and you think, I'm complicit for not noticing. You watched a natural disaster on TV, and you think, my comfortable life is a lie. Secondhand trauma activates your empathy network, but without the closure of direct experience. The thoughts generalize from one event to all of existence. They also burden you with false responsibility. Limiting media exposure, processing with a therapist, and taking concrete action, donating, volunteering, can transform helplessness into agency. You can care without carrying the entire weight. 78. They often emerge during productive procrastination, doing busy work to avoid real feelings. Example: you clean the whole house instead of writing a difficult email. then think, I'm a coward. You organize your files instead of calling your estranged sibling, then think, I avoid everything important. You exercise excessively to dodge grief, then think, I'm running from myself. The painful thought is correct about the avoidance but wrong about your character. Avoidance is a survival strategy, not a moral failing. The real issue is the unfelt emotion underneath. Naming that emotion, I'm scared of that conversation, reduces the need to flee. You can schedule the avoided task for 5 minutes, just start, and the procrastination spiral often breaks. 79. Painful thoughts often involve self-handicapping, creating excuses before failure. Example, you don't study for a test, then think, I'll fail anyway, so why try? You pick a fight before a date, then think, they were going to reject me eventually. You slack off at work, then think, I don't belong here, so who cares? This is a protective move. If you fail after not trying, you can blame the lack of effort, not your ability. But the thought itself sabotages your success and reinforces low self-worth. The pain comes from knowing you're capable but choosing to undercut yourself. Self-compassion says, I'm scared, but I'll try anyway, even imperfectly. Effort is always more honorable than preemptive surrender. 80. Finally, painful thoughts are sticky not because they're true, but because you fight them. Example, you try to suppress an intrusive image, it returns stronger. You argue with a self-critical thought, it mutates and persists. You distract yourself from grief, it waits and ambushes you later. The white bear effect is well documented. The more you resist a thought, the more it recurs. Fighting gives it energy, attention, and importance. The counterintuitive cure is acceptance, letting the thought be there without engagement. Imagine it as a background radio station you don't have to listen to. Painful thoughts lose their sting when you stop wrestling and simply observe, oh, that thought again. Okay. Reply, continue, for the final 20 points, 81 to 100. Here is the final installment, part 5, points 81 to 100. You now have all 100 points. 81. Painful thoughts often worsen during identity shrinkage, when roles are taken away. Example, you retire and think, I'm no longer anyone important. Your kids leave and you think, I'm not even a real parent anymore. You change careers and think, my old skills were my only worth. When a core role disappears, your brain confuses having a role with being a person. The painful thought equates emptiness with worthlessness. But roles are costumes, not skin. You existed before them and will after. Listing your enduring traits, humor, kindness, curiosity, independent of any role rebuilds identity. You are not what you do, you are how you do it. 82. They can be place-based, triggered by specific locations with painful memories. Example, driving past your ex's street makes you think, I'll never be that happy again. Entering a hospital waiting room brings, something terrible is about to happen. Sitting in your childhood bedroom triggers, I'm still that helpless kid. Places encode emotional memory through spatial navigation systems in the hippocampus. The thought is tied to geography, not current reality. Avoiding these places shrinks your world. Confronting them with preparation can rewire the association. Go with a supportive friend, stay for 2 minutes, leave, and note that you survived. Over time, the place becomes just a place again. 83. Painful thoughts often involve toxic gratitude, feeling guilty for not appreciating enough. Example, I have a roof over my head, so why am I depressed? / my kids are healthy, so I shouldn't complain about exhaustion. / others have it worse, so my pain is selfish. This is gratitude weaponized against yourself. You invalidate your own suffering by comparing it to more extreme cases. Pain is not a competition. Your broken leg hurts regardless of someone else's amputation. Gratitude and sorrow can coexist. One doesn't cancel the other. Allowing both reduces guilt and actually deepens authentic appreciation. 84. They often spike during anniversary reactions, even for positive events gone wrong. Example: your wedding anniversary, now divorced, brings, I failed at the biggest promise / your child's birthday, after a stillbirth, brings, I'm not a real mother / your graduation date, after dropping out, brings, everyone else moved on without me. The calendar remembers, even when you try to forget. These dates trigger grief for the life you expected, not the life you have. The thought confuses different path with wrong path. Creating a new ritual for that date, volunteering, hiking, or simply resting, reclaims it. You are allowed to mourn and still live fully. 85. Painful thoughts can be medication-induced, from steroids, beta blockers, or anti-malarials. Example: prednisone makes you think, I'm losing my mind and everyone hates me / propranolol brings flat despair and nothing matters / mefloquine causes vivid suicidal intrusive images. These are pharmacological side effects, not psychological revelations. The thoughts are often florid, bizarre, or out of character. They also disappear when the drug clears your system. Always inform your prescriber. Never assume these thoughts are the real you. Keep a medication start diary to catch correlations early. 86. They often involve echoing, repeating a cruel word someone once said to you. Example: a teacher called you lazy, now you hear it every time you rest. / an ex called you cold, now you doubt every affectionate gesture. / a parent called you difficult, now you apologize for having needs. Single statements, especially from authority figures, can become internalized mantras. They carry disproportionate weight because they arrived at vulnerable moments. The person who said it likely doesn't even remember. You can mentally cross-examine the witness. Were they having a bad day? Did they know me fully? Were they right about anything else? Often, the verdict collapses. 87. Painful thoughts often worsen after hyperfocus, intense absorption followed by a crash. Example: you code for 6 hours straight, then think, I wasted my whole day on nothing / you binge watch a series, then think, I'm a useless human with no discipline / you deep clean the garage, then think, this doesn't fix my real problems. Hyperfocus drains dopamine and executive function, leaving a deficit that manifests as self-judgment. The thought ignores the value of immersion and restoration. It also applies an external productivity standard to an internally driven activity. Scheduling guilt-free absorption time with a timer legitimizes it. You are allowed to do things simply because they engage you. 88. They can be temperature sensitive. Cold hands or feet trigger existential dread. Example: cold toes in bed make you think, I'm alone and no one cares / chilly fingers while typing bring, my body is failing me / a drafty room triggers, I can't protect myself from anything. Peripheral vasoconstriction, cold extremities, activates the sympathetic nervous system, which primes threat detection. The thought content is secondary to the physical chill. Warming your hands and feet, socks, hot water bottle, warm drink, often dissolves the thought within minutes. Your brain interprets cold as danger, give it warmth and it relaxes. 89. Painful thoughts often involve moral scrupulosity, obsessing over ethical purity. Example: you buy cheap clothing and think, I'm complicit in sweatshop labor / you eat meat and think, I'm a murderer / you miss a charity donation and think, I'm selfish and greedy. This is conscientiousness turned against itself. You hold yourself to impossible ethical standards. No one can be perfectly moral in a complex world. Every choice has trade-offs. The thought ignores systemic factors and your limited power. Doing something, even small, regular acts of good, is more effective than perfectionist paralysis. You are not the world's savior nor its villain. You are a participant trying. 90. They often emerge during solitary confinement, even self-imposed isolation. Example: working from home alone for days makes you think, no one would notice if I disappeared. Living alone during lockdown brings, I'll never touch another human. Taking a solo trip triggers, I have no real connections anywhere. Humans are social mammals. Isolation degrades reality testing and amplifies negative self-referencing. The thoughts are a biological alarm, not an objective truth. Even brief social contact, a phone call, a wave to a neighbor, can recalibrate. You are not invisible, you are simply out of social circulation. Re-entering, even awkwardly, reminds you that you exist in others' minds. 91. Painful thoughts can be exercise-induced, from overtraining or sudden inactivity. Example: after a brutal workout, you think, I'm pushing my body to destruction. After a week off, you think, I've lost all progress, I'm weak. During a run, you think, my heart will give out, I'm going to die. Overtraining releases inflammatory cytokines that affect mood. Deconditioning triggers loss aversion thoughts. Both are physiological, not rational. The content reflects your nervous system stress, not your actual health. Listening to your body, scaling back or easing in, is the correct response. The thought, I must push through, is often the danger, not the exercise itself. 92. They often involve counterfactual obsessions, obsessing over, what if I had done X? Example: what if I had taken that job offer in 2015? You'd be rich and happy, fantasy. What if I had spoken up at that meeting? You'd have saved the project, fantasy. What if I had married my college sweetheart? You'd have no problems now, fantasy. Counterfactuals are untestable fantasies that ignore the downsides of unchosen paths. They also erase your agency in the actual path you took. The pain is nostalgia for a fiction. Writing down a realistic what if, including the likely struggles, deflates its glow. You are here, now, that is the only reality you can affect. 93. Painful thoughts often spike during full moon or barometric pressure drops. Example: a full moon brings restless sleep and intrusive, I'm going crazy, thoughts. A storm front triggers migraines and my brain is broken. High humidity makes you sluggish and think, I'm lazy and useless. Atmospheric changes affect melatonin, serotonin, and intracranial pressure in sensitive individuals. These are environmental, not psychological. You are not unstable, you are barometric. Tracking weather alongside mood reveals clear patterns. On those days, lower your expectations, do less, rest more, and ignore the thoughts. 94. They often involve exclusion anxiety, fear of being left out of groups. Example: you see friends' Instagram stories without you, I'm forgotten and replaced. You hear coworkers went to lunch without you, I'm the office pariah. Your family has a private joke, I'm the outsider in my own home. Evolutionarily, exclusion meant death. Your brain still reacts as if it does. The thought magnifies minor omissions into total rejection. Most exclusions are accidental or logistical, not deliberate. Reaching out, hey, I'd love to join next time, usually repairs the gap. You belong more than your brain tells you. 95. Painful thoughts can be text-based, triggered by reading old messages or emails. Example: Rereading an old fight text makes you think, I was so toxic then, / scrolling through a dead loved one's chat brings, I should have said more, / finding an old rejection email triggers, I'll never be good enough for anyone. Written words preserve past emotions without context, tone, timing, and growth are lost. You judge past communications with today's lens, which is unfair. These documents are historical artifacts, not current evidence. You can archive or delete them to reduce accidental triggers. Your present self is not bound by your past words. 96. They often involve anticipatory shame, feeling ashamed of future possible failures. Example, you dread a presentation, already feeling everyone will see I'm a fraud, / you imagine a date going badly, they'll think I'm boring and desperate, / you plan a trip, already worrying, I'll ruin it for everyone. You borrow suffering from a future that hasn't happened. The shame is entirely imagined, yet it feels as real as actual criticism. This robs you of present moment enjoyment and often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Catching the thought, I'm ashamed of something that hasn't occurred, defangs it. You can only control your next step, not others' future reactions. 97. Painful thoughts often worsen after identity threats, being misgendered, misnamed, or miscategorized. Example, someone calls you sir, and you think, my body is a betrayal, / they mispronounce your name and you think, I'm not important enough to remember, / they assume your profession wrong and you think, I have no visible identity. These micro-invalidations tap into deep struggles with recognition and belonging. The thought is about being unseen, not about the single incident. It activates old wounds of invisibility. Correcting gently, or even just internally affirming your identity, restores footing. You are real regardless of others' accuracy. 98. They can be post-viral, lingering after COVID, flu, or mono. Example, post-COVID brain fog makes you think, I've lost my intelligence forever, / after mono. Fatigue brings, I'll never have energy again, / post-flu depression makes you think, my life is over. Viral infections trigger neuroinflammation that affects mood, memory, and executive function. The thoughts are inflammatory, not insightful. Recovery is nonlinear. Bad days do not mean no progress. Rest, anti-inflammatory foods, and patience are the treatments. Your cognition will return. The thought that it won't is a symptom, not a prophecy. 99. Painful thoughts often involve fear of happiness, believing joy invites disaster. Example, you feel happy, then think, something terrible is about to happen, / you laugh loudly, then think, I'm being too carefree, I'll pay for this, / you plan a fun weekend, then think, this is tempting fate, we'll have an accident. This is learned superstition, often from childhood where celebration was followed by punishment. You equate emotional safety with vigilance. The thought robs you of the very joy you fear losing. Deliberately savoring small pleasures, and noting that no disaster follows, rewires this association. Joy is not a down payment on suffering. 100. Finally, painful thoughts are not enemies. They are messengers asking for attention. Example, a loneliness thought says, you need connection, / a guilt thought says, you value integrity, act on it, / a fear thought says, you care about this, protect it wisely. Beneath every painful thought is a legitimate need, value, or boundary. The thought is a distorted signal, but the signal is real. Instead of fighting it, ask, what is this protecting? What does this care about? This transforms the thought from foe to flawed friend. You don't have to believe it, but you can thank it, then act on the underlying value with kindness toward yourself. That is the ultimate mastery. You now have all 100 points. If you'd like any specific point expanded into a full article, a summary PDF, or a practical worksheet, just ask.